uplift if they come to this part of the world. And the other question we get asked by our clients on a regular basis at the end of a long negotiation with a candidate is, of course, they will say to us, but of course it's tax-free here, so we'll offer a bit less anyway. And I think there's a sense of balancing on both sides.
Frank, I just see you nodding there. I would like to bring you in on that point. There's been some thought, some rumours about, in terms of the British government bringing in the tax for expatriate workers in a similar way that the US has done. Do you think that, what are your thoughts on the possibility of that emerging out of British policy under the new government? Yep. The red light is what's in it, yeah. No, now we're off.
We're on again.
There you go.
Excellent, excellent. Yes, we have heard this, haven't we? We've been scared by it several times. The prospect of double taxation from the UK. Obviously, they would like to get as much as they possibly can. This government, however, is rather less inclined to pursue that, I suspect. They have their hands full with other things at home. I think it was top of Gordon Brown's priorities, but of course he didn't get back in. So I think we can sit back and rest easy for a while on this one. I just don't think they will.
There's a sense that as the European countries become increasingly challenged by meeting their sovereign debt obligations, that every possible way to raise taxation will come into the picture. I'm wondering if the panelists have any view on that companies should prepare or position themselves to be, some do already, but to position themselves for that possible tax equalization. Rabia?
I think the region is a very international labor market, and so if companies found that hiring from a particular country brought up their wage structure significantly, I think they can afford to move away from that country. And so there's an equalization effect that happens just by virtue of the fact that in the UAE you have a lot of choice. So I don't see any companies preparing for that at present. And I think as an individual there's very little preparation that you can do also.
What about on the flip side, and Simon's suggestion of income tax being brought in here and the logic for that, with a sense of path to citizenship. The president of Bloomberg was here in the last 12 months, and he made a fairly significant statement where he felt that if they didn't offer a path to citizenship, the region would not emerge into a new economic cycle. I'm wondering how important those kinds of opportunities are in the employment environment, Anthony, in terms of, do people seek that? I mean, not path to citizens per se, but a sense of that belonging in order to make a longer-term commitment.
I think it's crucial. It's crucial for businesses. It'd be interesting with all the people in this room if we were to have this session in 5 years' time, how many people would be here. There's very little institutional memory within some of the larger businesses here, especially large family businesses where there is probably a 3 to 4 year churn on senior expat talent. And we tend to find, we've seen ourselves, we'll be having similar jobs coming in for very senior individuals with the same briefing, where you've got 1 or 2 people who are locals or people who've been long-term residency here running those businesses. And clearly if you amplify that throughout the economy, it would virtually be impossible for this part of the world to take a long-term view.
Michelle, could I ask you that same question? What your thoughts are on the possibility of that or the requirement for it? Mr. Michel Canu, if I might put you on the spot.
Okay, this is going to be awkward because I have to look this way and talk here.
Yeah, I can appreciate you. There you go.
Wow. Seriously, this is really awkward. Anyway,
well, the Alan might be giving you a microphone there, makes it easier for you.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is again an awkward position because I don't know how to talk to people looking at halfway one
You're a
side or
skilled
the other side.
orator. I've seen you in action.
Okay. Regarding the issue of long-termism, if you want, and say the incentive for people to come and work. I can't speak on behalf of a government. Every government has its different policies and different ideas in terms of what they want and what they don't want. Some governments is quite successful in terms of allowing what they call guest workers. Switzerland comes to mind, where they allow guest workers to come in for a certain period of time and then say thank you very much, goodbye. Other governments have a structure which says after working a certain number of years, you can automatically apply to become either a resident and subsequently a citizen. And there are issues that go with that. And every government will look and say, what do they want? Now, it's very simple. For this part of the world, I don't have the population, with the exception of Saudi Arabia, I don't have the population to have the continuous growth I'm currently enjoying. So I have two choices. Choice number one, either curtail my growth and therefore restrict the number of people coming in, or two, accept that there are going to be people coming in who are going to add to this economy, and then find ways of how to attract them. I don't want to attract, and please forgive me if I sound an elitist here, but I don't want to attract backpackers. I don't want to attract, even I would say up to a certain number of middle management and down. I don't want to attract them. Because
Attract in the sense of a long-term presence.
Exactly, because these are the people. These are the type of employees I can change, shift, and I'm not going to have such a long detrimental problem, whether it's in the country or whether it's in the company. The issue that was brought up in terms of having a long-term memory and intellectual property by the company, by having people last long, are people you want to look at on senior management, investors, people who are actually going to add value to the country. Those are the people that you have to say, well, you know, I want to attract them. I want to attract their skills, their abilities, their monies, whichever the case may be, and find ways to properly address that. Now, I've been, unfortunately, criticized for making a statement saying that I personally think people who've been here X number of years, I said 30, it's just a number of years. Whatever the policy is, I think it should be picked as a number of years that you've been in this country, what you've done, how you've added, and by the way, I think if you've done nothing negative and everything positive to incentivize a person to come stay here on a permanent basis, there's nothing wrong with that. As a matter of fact, it's the incentive that you want to help power this growth or power this economic growth. If we don't do that, as I said, countries are going to have to decide what they want to do. They have two choices. The first choice, and I'm sorry if I'm sounding like I'm a broken record, I'm repeating myself. Do I want the growth I'm currently enjoying? And if I do, what do I need to continue? What do I need to incentivize people to come here to continue doing that? Or two, if I want a homogeneous population or a certain structure of a population, am I willing to give up the growth that I'm currently enjoying? If the two, then they are unfortunately, at this present time, I can't think of a way of making them compatible. I think they're two incompatible things. If you want one, you must be prepared for it. If you want the second one, be prepared for it.
Is there any sense of that is even being debated? Do you see it, hear it, or is the opposite the voice?
I'm assuming what I say stays in this room.
Sure, of course. Relatively speaking, until everybody tells their friends at lunch. But just from a sort of an anecdotal sense.
There's only one catalyst in this region that causes change. And it's a strange catalyst because most people don't think of it from a political point of view. They think of it from an economic point of view. But that's the catalyst that causes change in this region, and that's the price of oil. The moment the price of oil dips below a certain level, then political changes starts to be discussed and talked about. At the present time, the way it's going, it's 80-something, I think, or 70-something.
Yeah, 80 in the 80s.
I wouldn't hold my breath on that happening.
Right. And the future would indicate that oil price is only going to go higher, so if you take that logic, then it ain't going to happen. Okay, thank you, Michelle, for the